Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the Beyond Bitcoin show. Today is December the 1st. Wow, it's already December 2018. Strong hand, unconfiscatable. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. Deferral of gratification, conviction. All right, people. I'm wearing a Beyond Bitcoin type of shirt. It's not exactly a Bitcoin shirt, but it really is a Bitcoin shirt because it's about this Bitcoin Meister channel. That's what we do here, is what this shirt says to do. I'll say it in a second. Check out the archives, techvault.com, disruptmeister.com. Yesterday's This Week in Bitcoin show, oh my God, it was out of this world. Blake Anderson was on fire, and VJ and Chris Bleck, they were on fire also. Check it out. You will learn a lot. Okay, so on this show, if you're not familiar with the Saturday night show, we talk about subjects that go way beyond Bitcoin, but we talk a little crypto also. And today we might have a little bit of extra time. So if you have questions in the chat, you can do the super chat. I'll answer them. Or you can just like write Bitcoin Meister where it lights up so I can like notice it if you have a question. And if no one has any questions, it's fine. Then I'll answer no questions. But hey, this is one of those rare times there's a ask me anything type of opportunity, since this show is about just anything beyond Bitcoin. But let's first talk about some Bitcoin. We talked about This Week in Bitcoin. And I noticed in the comments section under yesterday's show, there was at least one comment that was like, how can all of you guys be so happy when so many people have lost so much money? All right. And I've said this many times. You haven't lost any money if you still have the same amount of Bitcoin. You're valuing your wealth in fiat if you think you've lost money, okay? So the conclusion here that you should all get from yesterday's show, and you can see all four of us, me and the three guests, we were in great spirits. We're always in great spirits. Clearly, we all value our wealth in Bitcoin. All of us have the same amount of Bitcoin that we had before. We probably have more than we did, a month ago. I don't know everybody's personal finance that was on the show. I know I have a little bit more Bitcoin than I did a month ago. So, I mean, we are the true believers. We are the holders of last resort, whatever you want to say. So I did get that. I arranged that show on purpose. I knew I was bringing on three smart guys who valued their wealth in Bitcoin. And so do I. So to set an example there, because I mean, these last 2 weeks with the price going, in terms of fiat, it went down quite a bit in terms of fiat to a point where some people didn't expect it ever to go again. But I brought you guys some really smart guys who clearly value their wealth in Bitcoin like I do. It's not just, I'm not the only one who's like this. And so it really doesn't bring me down. That's how I can be so happy, because I still have the same amount of Bitcoin. And so do those guys. I mean, we've been through this before. All of those guys are veterans. VJ, he said he got his first Bitcoin in 2011. So, and he talked about the halvings. He's seen the 2012 halving, the 2016 halving. It's a good show to watch. But there are always going to be people who are going to look at a glass half empty type of perspective. They're going to fixate on the fiat. And don't fixate on the fiat, dudes. You got into this because you wanted Bitcoin. It's like the internet again, okay? You rarely get to live through two life-changing experiences like that. The internet changed the world, and cryptocurrency is changing the world. So stay tuned. Have a strong hand. And if you need inspiration, watch the show. Watch yesterday's show. And and again, I brought those three guys on also because they're really smart. And I knew they have, I do plan these shows out. I do try to have interesting combinations, and we never, with the This Week in Bitcoin show, we've never had the same combination. There's only been a few occasions where even one guest has been on the same show that another guest has been on before, at least in terms of This Week in Bitcoin. They might have been on somebody else's show together at one point. But I try to make the three people, they've never been together before. I have a rotation going. I've got all these, and it's hard to get people. It's everyone's got conflicting schedules. I have people all over the world, so it's hard to coordinate the time. And sometimes we don't get the third guy till the last day. But again, I really try to make them. I see how the show is going to go in advance. Now you can't predict it all the time. I mean, when you have Ty Zen on the show, it's going to go wild. It's just going to go out of control. I mean, there you go, right there. So anyway, that's a little insight into the behind the scenes of This Week in Bitcoin, but also into why are you guys so happy? We're so happy because we value our wealth in Bitcoin. We don't get caught up in the crypto noise that's out there. And that's the example that I've always tried to set. And my Lord, I say Blake Anderson's actually in the chat right now. So do as the shirt says and pound that freaking like button. All right. Yeah, this is my buddy down in Nathan in Perth, Australia. Got me this. He's a cool guy to hang out with. And he's one of those guys. He's been on my show before. One of those guys you see, when you see these dudes on the shows, these really smart guys like Blake, like Nathan down there in Australia, and like my buddy Shane, who hasn't been on the show for a long time, out in Washington State. You see these guys, they're really smart guys. You don't realize they're all three of those dudes are 6'2". I mean, when you meet them in person. I have not met Blake in person. It's a long story why we didn't get to meet in person. We were going to meet in person on Monday, actually. But that event got canceled. But Blake is 6'3". If anyone's wondering, Blake, I saw him. You don't get to see him like standing up totally. Hey, do you want to see me standing up totally? People rarely get to see that. I'm wearing these like weird shorts that say Baltimore on them. You can see how tall. So Blake was thinking that I was like 6'2". I am not. I'm like 5'10". I'm just regular. I'm totally regular. But Blake is like 6'3". And Nathan down in he's like 6'2" down in Australia, and Shane is like 6'3" or 6'2" also. So there are some really tall dudes of crypto apparently, and well, there is one dude in I've mentioned there is a guy that's 7'3" in crypto. Okay, and he maybe he's in the chat right now. And on our This Week in Bitcoin show that got canceled last Friday, he was going to be on, so I'll have to bring him on. The tallest man in crypto, who is also a very smart man. Let me get his book. I've got his book here somewhere. Let's just let's have an intermittent. Where is his book? Yeah, this dude. Hey, look, I read this dude. Let me see if you can actually see me here. All right, we got all sorts of. This guy, I happen to have the book laying around in this undisclosed. I don't know if I've ever done a show. I think I've only done one show for this location before. Who is he? J. Lee Porter. J. Lee Porter. This is his book. Buy it. He's 7'3". Yeah, he was going to be on the show last Friday before we had to cancel that. And yeah, so Crypto Shrugged. Is he watching today? I don't know if he's in. Yeah, get the book. I haven't had time to read it yet. All right, we got all sorts of things here on the Beyond Bitcoin show today. Okay, where are we? We're talking about tall guys of crypto, but then there's just dudes that are just the regular height too, or not so tall. You see that picture of me in Denver at the Denver event? I was like the tallest one, but I'm not tall. I guess what's his name is close enough. I mean, I'm taller than Hoffman. I'm taller than Vortex. I'm taller than Thomas. Then who else was there? What's his? I'm forgetting everybody. Trace Mayer is basically my height. Trace Mayer is basically my height. All right, who cares about how tall everybody is? It's all about what's up here, people. But sometimes you wonder behind the scenes, what are all these dudes are hilarious behind the scenes too. There are only a few people on my show, and they're not coming back on my show, who act differently when they're not on air. I'm not gonna. There's one person in particular. There's no point in me even bringing this up. This person has not been on my show before, but he acts differently off air. That everybody else acts the same way. They're the same people in person, and Why even bring up a negative? Pound that like button. Let's keep it positive. All right, so let's move on. Lift weights often. There's my health tip of the day. When I've been on the road, well, I'm always on the road. I didn't get to lift weights in Santiago. I had this like, oh, here. I brought this thing. I don't know what this thing was all right to do in Santiago. It's not the same, but this can fit in my suitcase. It's not heavy. I don't even know where. My family has always had that thing laying around. I don't know. I mean, my father got that for some unknown reason once. I have no idea. But I've used it in Baltimore. I brought it to San. But no, lifting weights. I didn't have weights with me. That's one thing that all Airbnbs don't have. They don't have weights. And so even just lifting a little bit, it's good for you, dude. It keeps you younger. I ran into a second cousin of mine last Friday. And yeah, the dude is like in his 50s and stuff. And he's thick up here. He's not a big dude either, but he looked younger. I mean, I think it keeps you young. I think it keeps the what's it, the HGH? Yeah, the HGH flowing. I don't know. But yeah, it's always good to lift a little bit, even if they're small weights. I think it's very good for people to do. I mean, it keeps you young. It and I run 20 miles a week, but that's something that's totally different. I think it's probably better to lift weights than to run 20 miles a week. It probably is. I mean, there's different. It depends who you are. All right, let's move on here. Yeah, so pound that like button. Follow me on Twitter at TechBalt, TechBalt. Okay, so I've been going to synagogue every day because when you got to say the mourner's Kaddish every day for a year, basically. And you need to do that at a synagogue where there are 10 men, okay? So, I mean, religious Jewish people pray 3 times a day. So this is why you got to live near like a synagogue. If you're a religious Jewish person, you got to be able to walk to because like I've had to drive to the synagogue. Like it's taking up some time here. So when I'm in LA, I'll walk to a synagogue, I guess. There are plenty of synagogues in LA. But yeah, if you're Jewish and obviously a religious Jew can't drive on the Sabbath anyway, and that's why they live close to their synagogues anyway. And anyway, I'm just putting it out there. If you get into this type of situation that I'm in, hopefully you live in a city where you can walk to a synagogue. And that would be what, New York City, right there. There's one you can definitely walk to. So yeah, I've been going to different ones, and some of the services, we're talking 7 a.m. services on the weekdays. It's been quite an experience, So when you're in mourning, everyone does the mourning thing a little differently, right? I mean, if you go strictly by all the Jewish laws and everything, and obviously I am not an Orthodox Jew. I mean, people can see that, the way I dress, but I mean, I try to be religious and everything. And, situations like this get you more religious, apparently sometimes. But when you're in mourning for the first year, if you're mourning a parent, you're not supposed to go to parties. You're not really supposed to listen to music too much. So I'm toning things down as best as I can. Okay. And during the first 7 days, you can't shave now it's past the first 7 days, or cut your hair. So, I mean, I'm giving you guys a little bit of insight into the Jewish customs here. And you're going to say, well, I knew a Jewish guy who lost his father who didn't do X, Y, and Z. Okay, yes, you do. But again, and then maybe some of you know some really Orthodox Jewish people who do all sorts of strict things. So I'm putting out some of the. So you're going to know. I mean, over the next year, I'm not planning on partying. Okay, not that I partied very hard in the last few years, anyway. But I mean, just someone just now invited me to go to their concert in LA, and I'm not going to go to the concert in LA. It's just not. It's not right yet. And I actually haven't listened to any music yet either. I'm keeping the radio off in the car. And all right, so there's your little insight into the Jewish mourning rituals there. If anyone is interested in that, what's going on. Now, another thing that I've noticed when I've been going to synagogue, you need 10 guys to have a minyan. You need 10 men in order to have a proper prayer service. Okay, I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but you need 10. And some of these synagogues all over the United States, most likely, they have a hard time getting 10 men. And then, of course, you have, Reform synagogues that count women, but I'm talking about the ones that count men. Okay, so there's one synagogue I'm going to, because my grandmother's first cousin told me about it. So I was like, well, I'll just join him. They have a real hard time getting 10 guys there. And again, the guys that they get there also are basically all over 70 years old. I am by far the youngest person showing up at that one. No, but the rabbi actually is in his 30s, late 30s, actually. But other than that, and that's a whole, I'm not even going to get into that whole story over there. But my point in bringing this up, this has to deal with cryptocurrency. Okay, I'm gonna tie this into cryptocurrency, what I'm about to say. So I mean, so what some of you are going to say, well, religious communities all over the United States are people are abandoning religion, and there's no doubt about it that religious communities are splintering off and people are becoming more secular. And so you're left with older people, whether it be at a synagogue or a church or wherever. It's older people. So I thought, now I don't know if you can do this in the Jewish religion. I got to ask the rabbi. Okay, maybe I'll ask the rabbi tomorrow. At the Chabad, because I go to the Chabad one on Saturdays and Sundays, and the Chabad rabbi in Owings Mills, Rabbi K, did my father's funeral, which was, he's a great guy, Rabbi K, great guy. I mean, if you're in the Baltimore area, go to the Owings Mills Chabad. And well, I'll say one other thing about the Owings Mills of Chabad in a second before I make this point about the Lightning Network. So I thought that, some people, they love their religious institutions, but they can't attend their religious ceremonies for whatever reasons. Maybe they live in California now, but they're old synagogues in Baltimore. So I think that some type of charitable fund should be set up with Bitcoin, and then with the Lightning Network, send micropayments to people, encourage young people to go to these morning services, these synagogue services, and pay them with the Lightning Network. Now, there's probably a whole, I mean, I don't know the whole technicalities behind it. And again, I don't even know if that's allowed to pay people to attend the religious service, to attend the Jewish service, but maybe it is. And if it is, this would be good because it would get younger people to get more involved in their religious communities and meet some of the older people. But it also would get like cryptocurrency into the news, because cryptocurrency and charity, because this is what we're talking, it is just charity. Someone would charitably give Bitcoin, and then it would be redistributed to people who would come to pray, to make the tent, because you need 10 guys there. And you could do this. You could pay people to attend church services also. I mean, you could all sorts of things. You could combine, like, I think about this stuff when I'm in synagogue and I see it's hard to get 10 guys there over at over near Greengate. It's Liberty Jewish Center, it's called, the one that I'm talking. Well, that's one of its names. It's got a bunch of names. Anyway, there's my Lightning Network, and paying people to attend religious, and they don't have to accept that. They can donate it. Eventually, maybe they'll get a lot of Lightning payments for attending, but then maybe they'll be like, I don't want, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to donate back to it. So speaking about charity, I think in a lot of religions, charity is very important, because that gets the religion, that keeps it flowing, right? And I know first of all, I just wanted to share this with you, that the last check my father wrote in his life was to the Chabad in Owings Mills for their Hebrew school, for their school. I mean, I saw my father's checkbook. Is the last thing he did, last thing he wrote. And it was crazy, because the check came to the rabbi the day after my father died. The rabbi got the call that my father had passed away, and then he opened his mail and saw there was a check from my father, and that was the last check my father wrote, was to charity. Which, I think all religions are saying, oh, that's a blessed, great thing, that the last financial transaction your dad did from his bank account was the charity. So that's good. I think that was cool. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, if you want to give it, hey, it's personal responsibility is new counterculture. If you want to give charity, I'm not saying you have to give charity or anything like that. I'm just saying, no one has to participate in any charitable things. You got to take care of yourself, people, stay healthy and all that. But I wanted to share that story. This is the Beyond Bitcoin show. All right. So we talked about Lightning Network and paying people to attend shul. Again, I'm laughing. I think it could be something big. I really do. Because again, Young people need to be, they need a reason to go. And it would be good for crypto. It would be a use case for charity in crypto. Okay. So, and a lot of young people don't even know that there's a crisis in the religious communities of getting people to show up in certain religious communities, because again, in certain Jewish synagogues that are Orthodox, everybody's having like 10 kids and stuff. So they don't have problems there. The synagogue specifically that I'm talking about is an Orthodox synagogue. But not everybody, it's a lot of older people there. And not everybody, and the younger people aren't having 10 kids, and they don't go to shul all the time. And again, I don't go to shul all the time. I'm going to shul because of the situation, what has happened. And, who knows what will happen in the future. Okay, not everybody wants to hear about religion, but hey, it's the Beyond Bitcoin show. So let's talk about life insurance here real quick. Yeah, so my mother's handling this life insurance stuff. My dad had some life insurance policies. I got to tell you guys something. You really, if you're a life insurance type of person, you've taken out a life insurance policy, you got to make sure that you stay up to date on it. Because what can happen is you end up buying a life insurance policy in 1978, and then you die in 2018. And the life insurance policy the company has been purchased by another company, which has been purchased by another company. And you really got to stay up to date on this type of stuff with your loved ones. They don't make this easy, okay? And again, I understand companies get over time, and that's the thing. A life insurance policy is all about time. Things change with companies. Companies get bought out, and you don't even know who owns the life insurance policy anymore, which company controls it. There's not really a centralized database with the state of Maryland, or there sort of is. Again, I'm not handling this aspect of things. I'm just telling all you people who are into life insurance, who think it's such a great thing, maybe it is. I don't have a life insurance policy on me. I have Bitcoin. That's how I am, if anything, God forbid, ever happens to me, my relatives will have my Bitcoin and all of that. And this life insurance thing is not as clean cut as all those advertisements make it seem to be. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out like that. They really don't have incentive to make it easy. I think they have incentive to get into situations where people forget they have these policies and they never claim them. So, I appreciate that. I really appreciate all the long-term thinkers, including my father, who take out life insurance policies. They have great intentions. It's not as simple as you might think it is. And it takes, you got to keep, when you're alive, you got to keep updated. If somebody's if another company's bought the company that owns your life insurance policy, and you got to keep all your relatives abreast of the situation too. And that's just not, life gets in the way of that sometimes. So I'm confident, with my own family, this will turn out fine, but I'm just saying it's not that. And then, when someone dies, you're not ready. Are you ready to just start doing all this research all of a sudden? No, you're not in that mood at all. So all the life insurance fans out there, maybe we got something new with Bitcoin. Maybe this is going to help replace that. And take it from there. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. Decide how you're going to do. I can't tell you how to plan your life out with your kids and your family and everything. There are different options out there. And by the way, what was I just saying? Oh, and with it, maybe this is where blockchain could come in handy too. You'd be able to identify your life. You would know where your life insurance policy was if it was on the block. Put your life insurance policy on the blockchain type of thing. In terms of knowing who it's registered with, at least. Like I don't know all this stuff, but I refer to like how the state of Maryland might have had some central database. Well, they might not. And so if a blockchain type of database would be something that it could not be lost. It would be decentralized, and this would be good in keeping track of who really had a life insurance policy with who. Okay, I just bungled that whole thing up, but I tried to tie it into cryptocurrency there, didn't I? All right. Another thing with funerals here. Here's a good thing. A funeral home, it's a business. It's a business, okay? They're trying to make money here. So here's my advice to everyone out there. If you're going to have a funeral, if you know you're going to die one day, you should just plan it all out in advance. Buy everything in advance. Order the coffin in advance. Pay for everything in advance, okay? Just pay for everything in advance. And again, Jewish people don't do cremations. If you're of a religion that does cremations and you're into that, that probably solves a lot of these problems right here, okay? Because when you don't have everything picked out in advance and paid for in advance, they're going to try to upsell you on everything, okay? They're going to try to upsell you on, and because it's their business, okay? They're going to show you all these coffins and and all the lining, the lining of the grave and everything like that, and you've got like, depending how large your family is, you get a bunch of different people with different opinions, trying to say, well, I like that one, I like this one, I like that one, and there's a lot of stress going on, and you end up. It's better if you plan it all. And I know it sounds morbid and everything. That's some real long-term thinking right there. Because it takes away some hassle from your family and everything like that. And, my story is, we did it pretty quick and everything. We did it pretty easily. We picked out everything pretty easily. But I can see how it can get real messy, real messy, real quick with different types of people and everything. So it's good to have it all planned out in advance, and it'll save your family money. I think when you do these pre-planning stuff, when I was a kid, I kind of remember sometimes you get like telemarketer calls from like funerals. Do you want to plan your funeral in advance? And it sounded so sketchy and stuff, but it's not sketchy. If you go to your reputable funeral home that you already trust, they'd be happy to set up a pre-payment plan where you select everything and it's taken care of just like that. And they keep the records real nice. All right. So one final thing here, since we're talking about life in general and funerals and people passing away, but this is life. I mean, you got to deal with this stuff, and you got to keep a positive attitude about it. And I've been keeping a very positive attitude. And I understand if you can't keep a positive. This is it's a life altering thing when someone suddenly dies in your life. You don't expect it. And so in terms of your current family, if you're very close with your family, this is what I advise. Just treasure every moment that you have. Because when the person does die, when let's say your father dies, it's very surreal afterwards. You can't talk to your father anymore. I mean, spiritually, you can think of it, you can watch videos, you can see pictures and everything, but you cannot physically talk one-on-one with your father like you were doing just the day before or whenever, the week before, or the month before. I mean, I was talking to him on the phone when I was in Chile and everything like that. That's over. It's over in this realm that you could believe. I'm not commenting on, afterlife or anything like that. I'm just saying, it's a fact that once someone dies, there's a silence. And that's the only way I can really explain it to people. Sometimes I'm thinking about something like, oh, I got to tell my father about that. But then you get this feeling of like silence. And it's the only way I can really explain it. There is this silence. And that's part of life. But I'm just telling everyone in advance, what it's like. So if you've got a family member, and just talk to your family members, because one day there is just going to be this silence. They will pass away, and you can't. It's just I can't talk to my father right now. I cannot talk to him right now. I mean, spiritually I can, but like how we used to talk and everything. No, he's not there. He's not there anymore. So I know some of this sounds kind of basic to people, but when you live through it, it is very surreal. It is, and it hits people different ways. When I first thought about that, when I first grasped that concept, it was not a good feeling. It was not a good feeling. And I'm a very positive person. Everything. It's a very final type of feeling. So anyway, I'm throwing that out there for you because my mom, I can go talk to my mom and everything, my siblings and my grandmother and everything. And so I appreciate that more now. I really do appreciate that more, because one day it just is, there's just going to be silence there. So don't want to get anybody down there, but that's life. Okay. But again, if you're a spiritual person and you can think of memories don't go away. Memories are great to have. But on the fully functional one-on-one conversation with the person in front of you, that's over. That's over. All right. So on YouTube, there's a certain acronym that deals with men going their own ways. I can't say that acronym now because YouTube is really like really strictly banning and demonetizing videos that mention that acronym. So there's a guy, and I can't say his whole name. It's that acronym money. He has a video out there, and I link to it below. And he talks about the demonetization of that subject matter, that acronym, and what it stands for. Just that, men are going in their own directions, men going their own directions type of thing. And he does point out something that's very interesting about YouTube. YouTube has banned that. I mean, YouTube can do whatever they want to do. Okay. But they don't ban, and he specifically said this, there are all these YouTube videos that are like cryptocurrency scams. I mean, telling people to do all sorts of nonsense, the BitConnect stuff, other stuff that, I don't even know half the weird stuff that's out there. Because I don't fall for that stuff. But YouTube doesn't ban any of that. In fact, YouTube has had advertisements in the past for cryptocurrency scams. And when I say cryptocurrency scams, I really mean scams. I really mean straight up scams. Not, people throw around that word a lot in cryptocurrency. They call every altcoin a scam. That's not me. I don't call every altcoin a scam. That's not the take I have on that. Some people have that take. I think it takes away meaning from the word scam. But the point is that guys, YouTube is not some moral authority. I think everybody already realizes that. Okay. So at the same time, with the banning of this acronym, I think it's an opportunity for people in that space to get creative. And if you're a really good content creator, you don't need to use that acronym to attract people to your subject matter. Okay. You don't need this is an opportunity to get around that word, that acronym, make some good videos about men and freedom, and maybe you throw in some crypto. I mean, you can go in so many different directions with this without using that acronym. So a lot of people, I think there are a lot of people out there that have jumped on that acronym just to make money off of YouTube, and now they're very disappointed. But there are some people who are really big fans of what that acronym stands for, and men having freedom, financial freedom, not having to go down traditional routes if they don't want to, and they just love it, and they're going to keep on making videos, and they're going to be creative, and if they're going to make money off of it, they're going to make money off of it. Good for them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with making money off of your YouTube videos. So if you really need to, and you're a good content creator, you're going to find ways to do that with that acronym, with that subject matter, and just keep on plugging away. And hey, I do a new show every day. I do a new show about cryptocurrency every day. But I mean, you can do a new show about men every day if you want, or every week or whatever, and see how it goes. So I see it as an opportunity for the hardcore fans of that acronym to rise above, because a lot of people are going to quit now making videos about this. You can make videos about the subject matter still and just not use the acronym, and just make them the best that you can. If they're good, they will attract people. And I think Economic Invincibility is a guy who sometimes does videos about that. He's a prime example. I mean, he's already on the path to doing great. He doesn't need that acronym. He talks about other subject matters, but again, maybe if you only have talked about that acronym in your videos, you'll talk about other subject matters now also, because there's so many other subject matters that are intertwined with that type of interest of men. And then you've got a guy like Vention. Vention, he doesn't even care about making money, so he's just going to keep on talking about that acronym nonstop, and that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, and then maybe one day the YouTube will just erase all his videos, and I mean, they can do that too, because they'll think that acronym is just hate speech, pure hate speech, and get rid of it. But then he can make new videos and just not use that acronym and just talk about the subject matter of men and the things that Vention is interested in. Okay, so I see, again, because I see a lot of people like very angry that you can't use that, and coming up with these conspiracy theories about why that acronym has been eliminated from YouTube. Don't worry about it, dudes. Just, keep on talking about it. If that subject is important to you, keep on making videos about it. And keep on talking about it, and keep on spreading the word about it without using the acronym. Okay, that's all I had right now. Pound that like button. Let me see if anybody had any questions there. Had a lot of people over there in the chat. Hey, are you in Santiago right now? Someone asked. No. I've been in Baltimore. A tip for everyone to find out where I am. If you check out the notes section of every single one of my videos, the first word in the notes section is where I am. I give the location of where I am. So the first word now is Baltimore, Maryland. It says Baltimore, MD. And so when I was in Santiago, it says Santiago, Chile. And when I'm in LA next week, it'll say Los Angeles, California. So always check out the notes section below. You can find a lot. Again, everything I talk about in this video, that video by the money guy is linked to below, and my location is listed below. And there are. Someone asked the question, are you, well, here, a guy asked the question in a very dirty way, if I am a homosexual. And no, I am not. If you've watched this video before, especially my Ask Me Anythings from back in the day, no, I am not. I used to value my wealth in women, actually. And I don't advise people to value their wealth. Value your wealth in Bitcoin, because if you value your wealth in women, you end up with like no money whatsoever. You could like women and everything. All right, what else? We got another thing. You like, I don't even know what that means. Why are you talking about dying so much? No, my father passed away. That's why. And then some people knew about that, that watched that video from back. It was last Tuesday he passed away. All right, where are we going? Most of my buddies were Jewish growing up, but as we got older, their parents didn't want us to hang out as much because I didn't have the same faith. Why is this? Just curious. Well, that's very interesting, because generally in America, Jewish people are becoming much more secular, and they're just totally intermingling, like taking on all celebrating Christmas and ridiculous things like that. It's possible that so in order to have a Jewish child, for the child to be considered Jewish, it has to pop out of a Jewish woman. So perhaps some of these parents did not want their Jewish sons to marry non-Jewish women, because what ends up happening when you get into secular society, if you look like me, a totally secular guy, basically a totally secular guy, you meet women of all sorts of different women. And in the United States, most women are not Jewish. There's only 2% Jewish women in the United States. So, that's my life right there. I met a lot of non-Jewish women, and I've been in all sorts of relationship with all sorts of non-Jewish women. And thus there are no Jewish Adam Meister children. I don't have any children. So perhaps your friend's parents were worried about that happening to their kid. What happened to me? And I'm not, I can have kids whenever I want to. That's another thing about being a man. You can, when you're 70 years old, you can impregnate if you want to. And that's another good reason to, if you're a guy that's down on his luck and everything. I know there's like a lot of like 25-year-old guys now who are like, oh, I'll never get a woman. It's terrible. You age like a fine wine, and if you have resources, you're going to be able to attract women. If you end up being a wealthy, successful person with the Bitcoin or whatever, but are you going to really want to attract someone who's just wants you for your money? There's a lot of different ways of looking at this here. If you value your wealth in Bitcoin and you do get married and you keep your wealth in Bitcoin, they won't be able to take the Bitcoin from you if you do end up in a divorce situation. And Jeffrey Butts said, and thank you for the $2, Jeffrey. He sent the super chat. Why don't people of Jewish faith cremate? It's against it says it in the Bible or something like that, or there's an interpretation of that law. It might not straight up say don't cremate. You're not supposed to mark yourself either. So that's why we don't pierce ourselves or have tattoos. And you can see the worst enemies of the Jews who were knowledgeable of the Jews. They purposefully tattooed the Jews and cremated the Jews as a complete insult a complete humiliation. They tattooed the Jews and they ended up, cremating their bodies and stuff, which is, it's very, very, very they were already killing them, and then they tattooed them and they cremated them too. It's just terrible. But it's I can't point to the exact Bible verse that says do not cremate. There's a whole burial ritual. There's how you're buried there's some very specific laws to it. I'll have to, after this show is done, I'll look up, I'll link to below the Jewish burial rules and why you cannot cremate. Someone says, audio video tweaker says, Bitcoin Meister, my dad literally impregnated his girlfriend, I guess when 70. he was like, well, the kids ain't making babies. The old man has to jump in again. Dude, if you're if you're saying a 70-year-old dude impregnated a woman, that's great for him, man. You know, what was that stripper's name from Texas? She married a 90-year-old man and he impregnated her. What was unfortunately she died young also. What was her name? That model that not well, she was a magazine model, a men's magazine model. Oh, look at this. That's a very interesting question that guy had right there. All right. How was Chile? I mean, I loved it. It was summer. It was spring. It was just the temperature was getting better and better. And yes, Anna Nicole Smith was not. Yes, she got impregnated by a 90-year-old man. He was 90, I believe. And she married him because he was a billionaire. And unfortunately, she died. Her son died, and the billionaire died also. Very tragic. I mean, and again, don't get into drugs, people. That was, I believe she was involved in drugs, and or her son was, at least, I think. Okay, wait. How was Chile? Is beautiful. There's a lot of freedom down there, I got to say. You don't have to worry about the cops, like, confiscating stuff from you. And I mean, I just watched this situation. Not that I care about the NFL, but it's all over the news. That running back for the Chiefs, he beat a woman basically in February in a Cleveland hotel. He kicked her. I mean, it was just real. I mean, and I don't, the whole situation behind it, whatever. You don't do that. She fell to the ground, then he goes to kick her again. I mean, that's ridiculous. But there was a guy that was like recording it, and the police were like wanted to confiscate the dude's phone. And it was ridiculous. Some cops are on such power trips. They break the law. I mean, I'm sure they're good cops also. But what my point in sharing that whole story is, in Chile, the cops are just laid back. They're not looking for trouble at all. Okay. They're not looking to be heroes. They're just looking, if something happens that's clearly ridiculous, they're going to get in there. Like if someone starts beating someone, they'll pull them off. But I mean, you see public urination all the time in Santiago. And they're doing that because they know they're not going to get arrested. And so, I mean, do you want public urination in your society? I mean, it wasn't in the worst of place. It was, well, sometimes it's like you turn a corner and all of a sudden you see a guy who's just got it whipped out there. And so that's another thing that was very interesting about Chile, the public urination. But the reason that's going on is because they know that they're not going to get beaten down by a cop because of that. While in Manhattan, if you do that in Manhattan, there is a chance that you're going to be, a cop might hurt you even. Because, I mean, some of these guys are very, again, and that's why on this show I preach, don't become obsessed with power. And I think some of the guys who get into policing in the United States are obsessed with power. I also think that some standards have been lowered in policing. I think the IQ standards have been lowered. There's some people that are now cops that are not very intelligent people. And I think there should be a higher standard if you're going to give people that type of authority. But yeah, in that whole NFL dude kicking the woman situation, I mean, there's some sketchy things that were going on there with the cops maybe covering it up because he was an NFL dude, or maybe they were just totally incompetent. Who knows? Again, in the end of the day, it's personal responsibility. That dude shouldn't be kicking a woman when she's on the ground. I mean, you don't do that. You just don't do that. That's ridiculous. But I mean, okay, so are girls easy in Chile? I heard some good things. I don't know. I mean, I value my wealth in Bitcoin. I don't go after women as much as I don't go after women anymore at all. I don't. When I had no interest in Chile. There were some hot women in Chile. It's just different. It's some different combinations. It depends what you like. It depends what some of them look very much like Mexicans. They were very much mixed, but some were more European. It depends what you like. And there were African immigrants there too, which is very interesting because Chile is the wealthiest country in South America. So you have immigrants coming there from all sorts of different places. You see Asians. It's a land of opportunity. It really is a land of opportunity. They lack zoning regulations are clearly lacking because you'll be in front of a mall, and then in front of the mall there'll be all these people sitting on sheets selling merchandise. and some of the merchandise is really bad. Like you see people going through the garbage at night, and I believe of nice apartment buildings, and then they kind of refurbish the garbage into merchandise that they sell on, sheets on out in front of stores. And then you'll go to the big food market, and right outside of the big food market, you see all these people selling food. And they don't have licenses. You don't need a license to set up your little blanket and put your food on there. And so there'll be African women actually that will have purchased garlic from inside the food market, and then outside of the food market, they've taken the skin, the outside covering off of the garlic, and are now selling peeled garlic. So they've provided a garlic peeling service, and now they're selling the peeled garlic, which is interesting. They're very entrepreneurial. So there's definitely an entrepreneurial spirit there because of the lack of regulation and lack of insane enforcement by authorities walking around. And again, the cops don't look like the military though. That's the thing. So if you're an American, you're walking around there and you're kind of like hesitant when you walk by these guys wearing like green fatigues, and they're coming out of green Jeeps that have like riot bars on the window. Like you can't break their windows because they've got like NFL style face masks on them and stuff. And yeah, I saw a few protests and stuff. Like there might many more protests in Argentina. So people in Chile there's not like that socialist communist bent there at all. They're just there to make money. There are some communists and stuff, like on the university, there were some communist signs and stuff. But those are just the youth. Okay. I mean, like the real working people, they're just trying to make a buck out there. And it's very interesting to see them just set up their little entrepreneurial shops right outside of real shops. But the real stores, they don't complain. They let the people sit out there. Go to Santiago. It's a very interesting experience. And I was there for 2 months, and I didn't need to get into a car once, not once at all. I stayed in Chile for 2 months. I just answered this. Someone asked that questions. Did you go to Patagonia? No, I was just in Santiago. When I go to a place, I just like to stay in one city. I just like to stay in one city most of the time, because I don't have my own transportation. It's nice to just settle down sometimes. So I enjoyed it there. And now that I'm back in Baltimore, it's been raining, it's been cold. I'm looking forward to getting to Los Angeles. So that'll be nice. All right. So I answered some questions there. I just want to see if anybody else, this is what was my purpose for visiting Chile? Well, guys, my whole lifestyle is I just don't have a home. And this is hard. I think younger people understand this a little bit better because, obviously this last week, I've been running into a lot of people from the past, relatives and stuff. And I try to explain what I'm doing, and they don't exactly get it. They don't even know what Bitcoin is. But all I do is I just move. I go from place to place. When I go to a city, I live in that city. It's not a vacation. I make these videos every day. I just go about my life as I would every day in Santiago, whether I be in Santiago, whether I be in Los Angeles, when I was up in Canada. That's just what I do. What I do here in Baltimore is what I do in Santiago. But I obviously have a lot of family and friends here in Baltimore. But in other cities, I have family and friends too. And I've made a lot of friends thanks to Bitcoin. And it's always great, wherever I'm going to run into some of the, like in Los Angeles, I have Bitcoin friends. It's pretty cool. All right. Okay, where's it? And finally, what does your gut say the price of Bitcoin will be in the next 6 to 12 months? Dude, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. That's what I think it's going to be. I very much think that this crypto bear market could definitely last all 2019, though. Because if you base it on 2015, it lasted all 2015. So why not 2019? So you're going to have a really strong hand. But once that halving year came around, things started to change in 2016. So maybe this is going to be the cycle that always happens now. You've got 2 bear years, then you get a change of sentiment in the halving year. And then in the second half of the halving year, things start to go up. And then the year following the halving year, everything goes crazy. And that's what happened in 2013. That was the year following the halving year. Everything went crazy, went so high. 2017 was the year following the halving year. Everything went wild. So maybe 2020, things will turn around. The price will start going up gradually. And then 2021, everything will go crazy. And if at that point it all happens again, then for 2023, if you don't have a strong hand through a bear market, then you're just ridiculous. You haven't learned your lesson yet. All right, that is it. I am Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Check out the links section below. Pound that like button like the shirt says. I'll say hi to you guys in the chat right now. Bye-bye.